Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now, Captain Finance himself, Sully.
It is the Big Biz Show, live from the Loft 100 studios. Thank you, as always, for being along for this fine ride here in sunny Southern California. I'm Costa, that's Marriot Godwin. Right there, the black shirt, Greg Todoroff. Right there's Captain Finance
longer
himself.
And longer. That's it, everybody. We'll see you in a second. Jeez. Are you still doing radio? Still doing sports radio?
No.
Really?
No, that ship sailed.
They chase you out, huh?
2020, no mas.
Is there any sports radio that like the old days?
Yeah, there's still a lot of it, but now here's your radio station, your television station,
right.
Your high-speed wire. That's Al Davis.
I was going to say, what's that on
your
your
phone?
Al Davis, owner of the Raiders.
Yeah. Greatest man ever next to Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Al, from whom all blessings flow.
We want to talk about the Raider game on Sunday?
Can we talk about there should be a website called shutupandact.com.
Okay.
Or shutupandsing.com. So George Clooney, right? George Clooney, pretty famous guy, handsome man.
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember the goofy John Travolta haircut when he was on Roseanne? What gives him credibility to say anything to anybody about anything?
He was on Roseanne?
Well, yeah.
Wasn't he on
I thought it was on Facts of Life. He was.
Facts of Life.
This is when we get off track and start. Wasn't he in the Reynolds Wrap commercial? Listen, do you remember his goofy, his?
Oh yeah, he wasn't always as
Rosemary
good looking
Clooney
as he
was his aunt. That's
yes.
and now he's so important that he can chime in on politics. I mean,
well, of course.
Robert De Niro, one of my favorite actors in the world, it chimes in. Like, how do you get you know where I'm going with this, right? Tay? You know where I'm going?
Oh, God. Let's talk about it.
Trailer?
I mean,
I've been waiting for that post to come out.
Well, do you realize that, like when Sting said in the documentary, he says, look, at some point you have so much money and so much fame, you're automatically political, which I believe. But is it an abuse of platform or footprint?
I agree, yeah.
Because, look, I respect Taylor Swift. I think she is the most influential entertainer probably in our time.
Did you hear that?
She is.
I agree with you. This guy likes to say otherwise.
You don't like Tay-Tay?
I don't. She's talented, yeah.
Okay, but
I'm done. Enough.
Wait a second, though. It's not just the four-chord music that she plays.
Right.
It's the enterprise. Like she.
Oh no, she's her own country.
She is, and it's
She's a smart woman.
But is it responsible? Just because people are listening to people ask me all the time, hey, I want you to sit down and talk about my portfolio. I don't do personal finance. I won't do it.
All she's saying is this is who I am backing.
But she knows what that's gonna do.
That's okay.
I don't know that that's responsible because suddenly you've got a bunch of fish out there that are not going to do any research. Like, what if she said I'm backing Donald Trump? Like, it's the same thing. Her listeners.
Celebrities come out and say who they want
I think that should be a felony. Honestly, shutupandact.com, shutupandsing.com.
Well, okay, you mentioned George Clooney, and yes, he was on Roseanne, by the way.
Appreciate it.
Did you just IMDb
he fact-checked him. He fact-checked him.
I did. I had to. But that's like because
doing the work, digging in, aren't you, Mike?
Yeah.
That's like he was on a show where he played a doctor. So I'm going to go to George Clooney because obviously he's got medical.
I just think that there's a responsibility, like the Brad Pitts of the world, to avoid it altogether because I think there's an undue influence when you don't know, you don't really know.
No.
Now, I understand you have an opinion. I understand what your politics are. That's great. I just feel like if your footprint's big enough, there should be some sort of like you realize that Jim Cramer, who I know very well, they interviewed me and him for a show called Money Monster starring George Clooney at one point about the Big Biz Show and about Cramer's show. Cramer can't invest openly in stocks. Do you know why? Because he's considered a market maker. And the SEC says, you're not going to just talk about stuff on the air and all of a sudden the whole world follows you.
Right.
I think there needs to be a governor on some of this stuff. Then again, I'm suddenly communist. And
I love that idea. I love that idea. It's like, what did you say, shut up and dance or shut up and shut up?
No, I'd say tell you to shut up and dance when we're out on Fridays.
Please don't dance.
Shutupandsing.com, shutupandact.com.
No dance.
Shutupandshutup.com.
Hey, keep your mouth shut while you're talking to me.
They're playing Taylor Swift, I just want you all to know.
Oh, it's awesome.
There's three.
Your liver's in danger. But before we dive into why, let's take a look at what's going on inside your body every day. Picture this. You're having a night out with your friends. You all decide to go to the local pub for a few drinks and a nice juicy burger. As you sit down at your table, you feel a little drained from the day and a bit peckish. Your body needs some nourishment. The first round of beers comes and they go down smooth. Next up, the burger slides across the table, and with each bite you can feel yourself coming a little bit more to life. As you sit and eat and laugh with your friends, the once full plates and glasses become empty and you come back to life. Not the healthiest of meals, but filling for sure. You begin to wonder, how did that food give me energy? The answer is likely more fascinating than you can imagine. There's a factory inside you that weighs about 3 pounds and runs 24 hours a day. This is your liver, the heaviest organ in your body and one of the most crucial. This dynamic structure acts as a storehouse, a manufacturer, and a waste treatment site. It doesn't end there though. The liver, while also being one of the most versatile organs, is also one of the most resilient.
Now, the liver is an amazing organ. You can actually chop away 80% of a normal liver, and that little small piece will grow into a new liver. The liver has an amazing ability to tolerate insult after insult after insult.
A truly remarkable feat of evolution, which makes the next question so peculiar. Why is liver disease on the rise?
Dr. Thomas Schiano says he's seen a dramatic increase of alcohol-related liver disease in young adults.
The report shows obesity rates are on the rise.
A CDC report shows cases of hepatitis C and hepatitis A continue to rise in the U.S.
For all of this superorgan has in toughness and versatility, the nation and world's recent rise in liver disease is a very real threat, and the threat is only getting worse.
People living with liver cancer is in over 500,000 patients. It's enormous.
Like, there's something very wrong with our environment when 2/3 of people are at risk for liver cancer.
Join us as our Bizumentary team travels around the country to speak with experts, patients, and medical pioneers as we explore the rising storm facing us all. This is the story of your liver's fight for survival. To start, we need to have a basic understanding of the liver itself. One of the liver's main functions is to filter the body's blood, which it receives from 2 sources. The hepatic artery delivers blood from the heart, while the hepatic portal vein brings it from the intestine. This double delivery fills the liver with nutrients that it then sorts, processes, and stores, with the help of thousands of tiny internal processing plants known as lobules. The blood that is received from the intestine contains carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, and other nutrients dissolved in it from the food you've consumed, and convert them into sugars for the body to use as energy. However, the blood flowing into the liver isn't always full of good things. Both natural and man-made, we consume an untold amount of toxins and byproducts that the body simply has no use for, and the liver monitors these with extreme prejudice. When it spots a useless or toxic substance, it converts it into a product that can't hurt the body or isolates it and sends it through the kidneys and intestine to be expelled. It's not just an organ. It's a multitasking powerhouse that processes everything you consume, turns it into energy, stores nutrients for future use, and filters out toxins. Without it, life as you know it would come to a stuttering halt. But despite its resilience, the liver isn't invincible. There's a growing threat that's becoming impossible to ignore: liver cancer. Our team set out to talk to the nation's top minds on the subject. We found ourselves talking to members from both the National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, and Johns Hopkins University to help us understand the threat.
So when we talk about liver cancer, basically all it describes, there's a cancer in the liver. There's 2 different types. There is an hepatocellular carcinoma, which is arising from hepatocytes, from liver cells. That's by far the majority of primary liver cancers. And then there's a second type, which is called a cholangiocarcinoma, which is arising from biliary cells, because remember, the liver is actually also producing the bile.
You know, a lot of people thought it was a little weird that I would go into liver cancer because at the time, the most common cause of liver cancer was viral hepatitis. And there were all these drugs coming that were going to get rid of hepatitis C, the most common cause of hepatitis, which leads to liver cancer. And so a lot of people thought that this disease might actually go away or at least be reduced greatly. And actually, we've seen the exact opposite. This is the fastest growing cause of cancer death in the United States.
Worldwide, there's more than 700,000 people that die per year. And in the United States, liver cancer ranks among the top 10 killers, both in men and in women, although we know that men are more commonly affected than women.
HCC liver cancer kills just under 1 million people a year. A more accurate and sobering figure would be about 16 deaths every 10 minutes. And the trend is rising. However, liver cancer, like any other disease, has to start somewhere.
So there's sort of a stepwise process. So anything that damages the liver can cause cirrhosis, which is scarring of the liver. And then out of that scarred, abnormal liver comes liver cancer. So it's sort of a stepwise process from normal liver to fibrosis to cirrhosis to liver cancer.
Hepatitis C and hepatitis B infection, as well as chronic alcohol use.
Daily alcohol usually, or obesity.
And now in the Western world, fatty liver disease and obesity are increasing risk factors.
And obesity is really a silent killer because most people with obesity don't know that they have fatty liver disease, which is, again, the major risk factor for liver cancer.
What happens is that over time, there is the development of an hepatitis and the liver cirrhosis.
You know, what we're really talking about is chronic inflammation of the liver, not over a day or a week, but usually over years and years.
And that's really, you know, the major risk factor for developing an HCC.
This isn't just a personal health crisis, it's a societal one. The choices we make as a society, what we eat, how much we drink, how we handle stress, are catching up with us in ways that are contributing to this growing threat.
It takes a long time to get liver cancer. We're just starting to see a spike in liver cancer from the Great Recession, like 2007. So you can imagine people started drinking more during the pandemic. I can't even imagine what my clinic is going to look like in 10 years.
From virtual happy hours and quarantinis, many people have been drinking more during their time of isolation.
So this is the scary thing.
Despite the immense challenges liver cancer presents, there are treatments available. Yet for many patients, the harsh reality is that these treatments can be as brutal as the disease itself.
I watched myself grow more and more frail because of the malnutrition and because of the nausea.
Some patients have an ability to tolerate a lot more treatment than other patients, and that's usually determined by how healthy or unhealthy the underlying liver is.
So the three classical treatments we have are surgery, cut it out, gone, easy. Second one, radiation treatment. So you radiate this and you try to destroy the DNA in these two, in the whole field that is being irradiated. And then the one that we were just talking about, chemotherapy. What is chemotherapy doing? Chemotherapy is, yes, it's using chemicals that basically stop or kill rapidly progressing cells. These can be cancer cells, but we have other cells in our body. You know, we have hair that is growing, you know, we have blood cells that have to reproduce. And all these mechanisms, you know, are actually targeted when we talk about chemotherapy.
Throughout this journey, we've delved deep into the science behind liver cancer, exploring the relentless challenges it presents and the treatments that, while necessary, often come at a high cost. But understanding the full picture requires more than just the science. It demands insight from those at the forefront of innovation. In addition to speaking with leading experts in the public sector, we had the opportunity to hear from some of the top minds in the private sector. Those who are not only observing the battle against liver cancer, but actively working to change its course.
Right, it's called targeted therapy. Is that those cancer cells and all those are cells in your body that have gone ballistic, right, and are dividing in a way that is not appropriate. There are these molecular targets on them. They express something that you can identify, and you create a molecule to literally go there, hit that target, and make that cancer cell die.
As we've uncovered the science, one truth remains undeniable. This battle is not just fought in labs and clinics, but in the lives of those who face this disease every day. In our next chapter, we'll step into the lives of these patients, hearing their stories of courage, resilience, and the harsh realities they face in the fight for survival. Their experiences will shed light on the true cost of this disease and the hope that drives them forward.
I don't know what you have going on in your lives, but don't give up.
And the game-changing innovations on the horizon.
People are waiting, right? They're waiting to see what 2024 is going to bring. They're waiting to see what the phase 3 is going to be, and they're waiting to see what else we're going to do with 1120 and our other programs.
Because the way it works doesn't cause hair loss, doesn't cause vomiting, doesn't cause diarrhea.
We would love to make a difference, a meaningful difference in patients' lives in the places we're focused.
Really, we're going to see that it helps people do better with their cancer, and it maintains how they feel and how they live at the same time.
Living, grooving, Big Biz Show, Costa, Marriot Godwin, Greg Todoroff, Sully, what's going on?
Fascinating me one time said, we're not your father's business show. Well, you're my father, because he was in those bars every afternoon.
Exactly.
Steve Brady's here, of course, CEO of Tempest Therapeutics, stock symbol TPS. It's always great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And
good to be back.
I love that you get to come down from the Bay Area to San Diego. I want to talk to you about the latest, because we talked last time when you were on Zoom about sort of the misconception of your last press release coming out, which was better than the news that brought you up 10,000% in one day. And it was sort of misguided with existing investors. Is that narrative starting to change a little bit? Are we starting to get the word out as we're raising money, going into phase 3, so on and so forth?
Well, I have to say it's the strangest experience I've had in my career. I've been doing this for something over 20 and under 30 years, where you're talking to investors and you're talking to people about the data and they get it and they're excited about it, and then nothing.
And there's a disconnect.
And there's a disconnect. Everybody is waiting for someone else to do something.
Can I ask you this? You and I talked about this in the very beginning when we first met. 22-23 was horrible for biotech. For some reason, it was just you were out of fashion. And they said at the JP Morgan conference this year, or actually in December, saying, look, first quarter is going to be a little dicey. It's going to be tough to raise money, but biotech's back. And it seems we got a great second quarter. And then the third quarter came. What the heck is going on? Is the narrative just that? Is it an economic thing? Is it a finance thing? Because the same investors that put in the long soak of 7 years in a company like yours see something that you're doing like this, and effectively, you're not saying this, I am. Press release that says, I think we got a cure for solid tumor cancer, and it looks like you do. At the end of the day, there's got to be companies sniffing around for acquisition. But why does the industry in total still suffer like it did, let's say, middle of 2022?
It's a mood of the market. I mean, that sounds like the most unintelligent answer in the world, but there's a large, and I'm probably going to get hate phone calls from investors for this, but there's a large herd mentality. And I only work in life sciences, I do drug development, so I can't speak for tech or real estate or any of those, but we have very much herd mentality. Things are popular, then they're not. Cancer has been largely unpopular, which sounds ridiculous.
That's because I think there's a misconception that we're doing better than we are. I mean,
there is, because people keep quoting NASDAQ Biotech Index, right, as an arbiter of like, oh no, biotech's back, and that's a bunch of big companies. When you're boots on the ground and we're expanding our team, right? We're moving towards a phase 3. We're incredibly excited. I mean, the tenor inside the company is phenomenal. We open a job on the web. With the number of overqualified candidates we're getting right now is shocking. So there may be a headline that biotech's back, but the real kind of small mid-cap development companies that are doing a lot of the innovative science, it is rough.
Well, and by the way, and that's going to change as all things. I mean,
it always has.
Market returns to the mean. Talk to us about. Talked about our leading candidate for TPST 1120, which I think is
now has a name.
Which now has a name.
Amazulpat. It's Amazulpat, which we say internally amazing Amazulpat.
So if you look at the arc of the story here for the FDA, we have up on the screen here, like you are marching right along here.
We are.
But at the same time, look at how many drugs we have. We don't just have the one, we have several therapies. Talk about those.
Well, even Amazulpat itself, right? Everybody wants to talk to us about liver cancer, which that's where we're going to phase 3. That's what everybody's, to your point, marching, I would say, my team would say running towards.
Well, in the Bizumentary excerpt that we just showed in the last segment, which you guys were unbelievably featured in, it shows that there's political will here. But there's also, it's almost like this, what have you done for me lately in biopharma, in biotech?
Yeah, from your mouth to God's ears. Yeah, no, absolutely. But to your point on that, on the pipeline, right, as is often the case with drugs that are, or at least new drugs that are developed, right, they hit more than one type of cancer. They're designed to do that. This drug, liver cancer was our number one choice out of the gate years ago for multiple things that we won't get into because we can go down a deep geek science hole, which is I'm happy to do, but I don't think it's that interesting to people. But also kidney cancer. There's another kind of cancer called cholangiocarcinoma. There are multiple types of cancers that express this target, which is called PPAR alpha. But everything is eyes on first-line liver cancer, which, as you know, is actually getting worse from a spread perspective. It is not decreasing in the population.
It's
growing.
Because it's lifestyle.
It's lifestyle, right?
Can I ask you this? What stage of liver cancer? And you always hear pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, like death sentence, so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
What stage do you guys treat? Is it from the very beginning?
Yeah, so this is called first-line liver cancer. So this is where you walk in, and unfortunately, you're told by the oncologist, you have a need for a systemic drug. We cannot go in and surgically remove this. You have never had a drug before for liver cancer. We need to put you on a drug that's going to go all throughout your body, right? Because there's a risk of this metastasizing. I mean, it's a bad prognosis to get. In fact, the one dominant standard of care around the world, we colloquially call it Tizo-Bev. It's got a much longer name. Right? When they got their phase 3, we measure everything in survival. Right, this is that kind of a cancer, right? We don't do surrogate endpoints here.
Let me just clarify that. You measure everything in extended survival rates as if they take the therapy versus not taking the therapy.
Yes, or in now we're doing it because this one therapy that I was talking about, Tizo-Bev, it changed the landscape a few years ago. It did. It was great. The drugs that were being used were, with all due respect, were terrible, and first-line liver cancer was a death sentence. This extended the median life to over a year. I don't know how you guys feel. I don't think that is even remotely good enough.
Right.
When people you love are diagnosed with liver cancer, you want to hear something much better than that.
Yeah.
So the data that we just came out in fall when everything went ballistic was we compared taking a Mazatlán, adding it to that, and comparing it to that dominant standard of care, and it did a lot better.
Stephen, if it's lifestyle in the United States, what are the other attributing factors in the rest of the world?
HPV, infectious disease.
Oh, okay.
And so one of the reasons it's growing here is because of our lifestyle. We drink a lot, we eat a lot. These lead to cirrhosis.
It's Funyun powder, Mike. It's Funyun powder.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Bits.
Actually, I mean, I hate to say this, but the number one cause of death for people with cirrhosis is liver cancer, right? So you don't want to get cirrhosis from drinking. You don't want to get NASH, which you probably hear about a lot right now. In Asia, it's passed on from mother to child, the infectious disease.
Really?
So yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you can have a birth transmission if you have certain infectious diseses, and that's the number one. The virally induced HCC is huge.
You know, it's interesting because lifestyle changes on liver can be improved by just changing behavior.
But the problem is so when you talk to the epidemiologists and you talk to the liver cancer experts, right? There's actually one of the things that just came up recently was, are we going to see a bump in HCC X number of years in the future from the pandemic?
Yeah, because everybody drank more.
Because everybody drank more then. There's all that, yes, all that bad lifestyle choices. So our point is, look, the standard of care is great, but it's not enough. We need new drugs that are going to extend people's lives without ruining them from a toxicity perspective. One of my mantras and our mantras inside the company is there's no reason to live longer if you can't live.
Exactly right.
So we're trying to extend life while giving people a choice to live.
Yep. Before you get out of here, talk to us about the next 6 to 12 months and as much as you can talk about. What are we looking forward to?
So we just put out news recently that the FDA agrees with us on the entire phase 3. Mm-hmm. That was huge. It was keeping me up at night. I mean, I'm not kidding, literally, like 3 o'clock in the morning, wake up, look at your ceiling thinking, how could this go? They agreed with everything. So financing dependent, we are looking at starting the phase 3 in the first quarter. So that's less than 6 months away. Mm-hmm. The team is running, they're a phenomenal team. You would be amazed what we've done with just a few people. And we're looking at on the long end, 3 years, but the FDA agreed with us on something I think is really important, which is stopping it early for efficacy, which could be up to 8 months earlier. We're able to stop the study and then file to get the drug approved.
And, you know, people hear this interview and suddenly there's going to be a call out for compassionate treatment. When do you guys get to flip that switch?
Yeah, we can't really do that. When you're going to go register a drug like that, it's so rigid globally, what you have to do, it's really hard to do compassionate use.
See, Brady, thanks so much, buddy.
Absolutely.
You'll see him on Bloomberg, here on Bloomberg Focus. Also, look for the Bizumentary about the whole space. And of course, Stephen and his team opened up the floodgates for us. But pretty emotional stuff, pretty scary stuff. Makes me think that let's just stick to the burgers, Mike, for the next couple of weeks. Maybe, you know.
If I have to, I guess I will.
No fun.
Maybe it's the creme de menthe talking, but I think this should maybe on the east.
Put away the cold duck.
Big Biz Show. See you in a minute.
Loft 100 Studios, The Big Biz Show, our affiliates, and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any persons, or that investment in such securities would be profitable in general.
Given the nature of our company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for their securities, and investing is highly speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its host for the profile coverage.
3, 2, 1. From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stock if we are speaking about, interviewing, or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullyandgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully. Duh.
And read the investor information available on the website. On the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, at www.sec.
Or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. I like the way you do. Hold on, wait. No. I like the way you. Why do you sound like Julia Childs when you try to do Michael McDonald? Listen, baby. And Mom says, listen, more butter. I like the way you save the liver.
It is the Big Biz Show rolling on from the Loft 100 Studios. Yes, we get paid to do this. Costa, Marriot Godwin in the red, Greg Todoroff in the black. The guy in the blue is Sully, with two very, very special guests here at our blackjack table.
Well, one. Well, oh,
man.
Stephen Allgood. Thank you. Oh, excuse me, somebody not getting paid today? Wow. Did you just finish it like that?
Fade out.
Okay, pick that thing. There's no fade out in this show.
Quit on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Day Trader Trio up there.
Love them.
Ryan Jordan, of course, has played with the likes of Lauryn Hill and James Brown and Dave Matthews, and also the Mira Mesa Bowl on Friday nights when it's...
he kills it.
Yeah. James East, 3 Grammys, 4 Tonys, and a restraining order, and an expired Costco card right there. Frank, good to see. Can you play that again? Can I get a little more of that? Because that fade thing was kind of lame. Hey, Trace, can you give me a little Trace? Trace.
1, 2. There we go. Welcome to the Big Biz Show. What it is though, the name is Sojourn and I turn every microphone burn. Off the top of the mind, at the drop of a dime. Ain't no stopping to shine 2 times.
There it goes. Wow. You can't teach that. Nope.
Sir.
Good to see you today. 125 million TV home strong, nationwide, coast to coast. Big Biz Show on BizTV Network, American Life Network, and of course Bloomberg Financiero, and then Bloomberg EU coming up next month. You know, they wouldn't put us on primetime Bloomberg. Maybe it was the article that said business with a barroom slant, I think is what happened there. Good to see you. I'm going to talk tomorrow. We're going to bring up that section. We're going to have 2 more segments in the next couple of days. One's going to be Pick My Shorts for you, Mary.
Love it.
And that's when we pick the stocks we're going to short this week.
Perfect.
And then we're going to play Ask Sully, where you guys get to ask any question about the economy. And I have to punt and say, Greg, what do you think? And then... And then we hear that, and that's over.
Is that where you show us what's on your phone?
Yeah. What's that? I'll show you on my phone. I took all the anatomy class pictures off of there. So
okay. All right.
Can I say this? Here in San Diego, you may be watching us in New York City or Texas or listening to us somewhere across the world, but I remember part of my life in San Diego was going to Mexico. Literally once a week. In fact, it was interesting because back in the day, you would go down there, you'd spend $5 to go get gas down there cheaper, which made no sense whatsoever. But it was kind of a thing on Friday night. You just go down there.
Revolution.
Or Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a thing.
You've heard of ladies' night? Mary went to hard liquor and handgun night.
Escape club. That was my. That's where it was at.
But I was given. So I remember going to Cabo San Lucas, and if you're not from California, it's literally hop's going to jump down there, and it was undeveloped mostly about 25 years ago.
Yep.
I got the opportunity to buy some property in a place called Chileno Bay. And I could have bought myself a piece of property there for about $200,000. And I'm going to commit suicide tonight because that same piece of property is worth about $20 million now.
Yeah.
Wow.
The interesting part about Mexico, which is Mike's favorite drink, the bottled romance of Mexico, which is tequila, is that it is basically where a bunch of expats are starting to go. Mm-hmm. But they used to go there because it was reasonable to buy something there. But the places like La Paz, Gran Sueño, places like Cabo San Lucas and others are changing that. The next big thing, this is what I hear, and who do I know? Or what do I know? I know a lot of people. Mazatlan. And if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be kind of the next frontier there. Stephen Allgood is the president managing partner of AB Hospitality. They are a development company. Don't you already own a bunch of hotels, and would it kill you to give me your invitation?
We were supposed to get that to you. I apologize.
First of all, before we get into Mazatlan, I do want to talk about how you started in this and how difficult it is, because you can't really own land in Mexico, but you can operate effectively with a good margin. Talk about the ins and outs of that.
Well, you can own land, oceanfront land in Mexico two ways: being a Mexican national, I'm not, as you can tell, or you can own a Mexican corporation.
Oh, okay. So you form an entity.
That's correct.
So that seems like the workaround, and I think Mexico got smart by actually offering that.
Yeah, and it's a way for them to tax and to manage the process.
What is when you hear about Mexico or you hear about any other country, do you have to have boots on the ground before you get in there to kind of navigate through that? I mean, was there in the very beginning a consultant that watched you through that process? Because it's not like going to City Hall in the U.S.
Yes, we actually engaged a retired city official that walked us through the process.
He knows a guy who knows a guy.
Exactly. Exactly. Very long 3-hour lunches.
Seriously, you've been in the hospitality industry for 37 years. What was the tipping point to talk about Mexico in the first place?
Well, it was a place that I was brought to by a colleague going, you need to go to Mazatlan, you need to see the ocean, you need to see the culture. And I was hesitant. And then we scheduled a trip and I was like, okay, I'm sold. This was a beautiful culture.
So what's interesting is when you talk about valuation because you guys are finance guys as much as anything else. And you don't want to, you want to make sure it's fairly valued, but how do you get fair valuation in an emerging market in Mexico? And probably no difference in the U.S., but it just seems like a little more of a measure twice, cut once, so to speak, in your due diligence. Is that about right?
You want to respond to that?
Well, yeah, I think.
Look, really. Mike Taylor's here. Our finance guy.
Mike Taylor's here.
I just happened to walk in the door.
Yeah,
he's smarter in this area.
Well, I mean, you're valuing it like you would any other property anywhere else in the world. So in the case of the Westin property, this is Marriott. So AB Hospitality is developing an all-inclusive resort for Westin, Marriott flag in the ground. So a lot of that valuation, it's no different than if it was here in San Diego. And what we're seing now, especially post-COVID, and I hate the term post-COVID era, but in this case,
what it is.
Still going on.
It is. It's still going on.
Is it, Mary? Are you really post-COVID? Are you past it?
I'm past it. I just had it 2 weeks ago. That's probably why I wasn't here.
Did you not say hi to him when he came through the door today or something? Because man, he's just.
I know.
Wow.
I'm a little lippy today.
You got a mouth.
Oh, that's cool.
She's got a mouth and she likes to run it. So the financing question, there's enough established valuation, enough established sort of tombstones in terms of deals that you guys are not reticent about the fact that it's Mexico. I mean, let's face it. And look, I've got property on top of land in Mexico. I've been going there my whole life. But this is a country that shuts down liquor stores and bars on election day. I mean, it's still a little bit interesting how it's not quite where we are, but it's certainly, there's certain regions of that. And again, Cabo San Lucas, La Paz, now Mazatlan, that's making it credible. So talk to us about the resort. What's happening? What's the plan? What's the decision? And when do we get to go?
You can go anytime you wish. Well, the plan is it's a Westin resort and residence, and it's an all-inclusive resort, and that is a amazing emerging market. The destination resorts where you can go and everything is provided.
Wow.
And the stay used to be pre-COVID. You'd have an average stay of 7 days. Now it's 3.5.
Yeah.
Because people have the liberty and the autonomy to work from home, and so they travel and they do their work.
Is when you say an all-inclusive resort, does that mean there's hotel rooms and residence for purchase, or is it a timeshare type thing?
No, it's 100% for purchase. And matter of fact, that's meeting with Marriott, and once again, we speak to them monthly. The Westin residence side, which is a 100% acquisition of a condominium.
Oh, no kidding.
And it is one of their strongest markets they foresee over the next 10 years.
See, and here's the thing. I heard that story before, and I didn't buy into it. And it's like, honestly, if you look at Cabo, it's really...
Exactly.
And the interesting part is, so how I understand hotels to work is there's a developer that owns the property, but you insert a hotel company to run the hotel side. Is that accurate? And that is Marriott.
Marriott. We've contracted with Marriott to manage the resort and residence once they open.
And then, of course, the residences, you talk about... I'm sorry, did you say Four Seasons? Did you say...
Westin.
Westin. So how do they play into this?
The Westin residence side, we sell all the residents, and it's just like any other condominium building, and you have CC&Rs, and Marriott manages that on our behalf, except for it's staffed 24 hours a day, like it would be a resort, because it's next to the resort, and then all of the residents and their guests get to use the resort facilities at a discounted rate, because once again, it's all inclusive.
Yeah. Stephen Allgood and Mike Taylor here talking about AB Hospitality. What's interesting is I don't think I've heard all-inclusive in a while.
I just heard it. I was telling him I got a text from a friend yesterday who's at an all-inclusive resort, and so I wanted to ask you about that. Is it really all-inclusive? So food, drink, activities, and it's not just all these.
And what time is me and Mike's watermelon eating contest after the volleyball?
That's one of the entertainment shows.
After the volleyball game.
That's a show. It is all inclusive. The only thing that's not would be a motorized sport.
Okay.
But otherwise, out of our 11,
so like a jet ski or something.
Correct. Out of our 11 food and beverage outlets in the resort, you could walk up to the Azul Coffee Bar and just take whatever you like. You can go into the little the market you have and take things for your rooms. We have...
Isn't that called looting?
Yes, but not inside the hotel walls.
Can I ask you, was this property in place and you guys are taking it over out of a distress thing, or is this from scratch?
This is from scratch. This is, the earth is, as God intended it. We have almost 600 yards of oceanfront beach.
Jeez.
Wow.
And you have the land is clearing, and we build from there.
So right now in its present state, where do we stand in terms of construction and so on and so forth?
Well, it took us many years to get to the point where we can get permission to build. So we have permission to build now, and we have design that we presented. HKS Architects International is our firm that we use. So we know what we're building. So
how do you finance a project like this? Is this a combination of non-dilutive debt and equity, or how do you?
Both.
Okay.
Both, and I think. Well, actually, I know the number one component that structures this deal are the residents, the revenue from the residents upon opening.
Right. So since you are the tip of the spear for capital, with not only family offices and debt, how do you approach that? I mean, obviously you have multinational family offices, which means you have guys in Mexico, you've got guys everywhere, and of course for Bloomberg El Financiero residents, we're gonna have to get a 800 number. But how do you approach that?
So the investment dollars coming within Mexico is enormous. And there's a lot of family offices and various money pools from Mexico that have had their money elsewhere. And now in the current administration in Mexico, there's tax incentive for them to repatriate those funds. And when they repatriate, they have to go into projects that are on Mexican soil. This gives them an opportunity to be a part of a Westin Marriott project.
Is there incentive to repatriate? Like here in the U.S., there's all kinds of tax incentives. Move us here to
very much.
So Mexico's actually taking a foot forward and taking a longer look.
I'm sorry. So is there fear that every 6 years you're going to be dealing with some sort of different cat or different mindset when the presidential elections happen in Mexico, or is everybody overall okay?
No more than
No
2 years longer there.
I think Mexico has a very stable. Their institutions are very stable, especially on the banking side.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So it would be. I think there was a lot of concern when Obrador came into office that there was going to be these great disruptions.
Right.
And it didn't happen.
Okay.
So Mexico now has really become that player in the Americas, and to the rest of South America, they're kind of the go-to model. So it's incredible.
Well, what's interesting about this is that it's almost like, it's unlike equities in terms of stocks, because you have to conduct due diligence on market dynamics and who's in the lunchroom, who's running the company. This is a tried and true model.
Yes.
I mean, this goes back to Acapulco in the 50s, but more recently, it is a really lucrative model in terms of development, and the sky's the limit. I mean, who would have thought that a 3-bedroom condominium in Chileno Bay is going for $6 million?
Yes.
$6 million. Yeah. I mean, beautiful condominium. But I mean, who's got that kind of cake to go visit every once in a while? I mean, it's a very sort of criteria-specific audience, isn't it?
And we have, Forbes. We've all heard of Forbes. Forbes continually, 10 years running, ranked Mazatlan as one of the top 5 places for Canadians, Americans, and Mexican nationals to retire to.
Is Mazatlan? So if I think in terms, and forgive me because I'm not familiar with. In terms of where Cabo was 10, 15 years ago, is that where Mazatlan is now? Or are we late to the party?
No, I think they're much further along. I think they're probably 5 years out from the standpoint of even mirroring Cabo, but they don't want to mirror Cabo.
I'm just talking about the business model in terms of evaluation and
I would say you're 5 years out. Example, the Montage, they're selling their residence in Cabo for $4 million. Wow. $4 million, 58 units, 53 units, $4 million. We have our penthouses inside the Westin Resort, 4,000 square feet.
I think we need to send a camera crew down there. Devin, I think we need to go down there and take some. Yeah, I think so.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
we won't see Devin for 3 weeks, but.
And that's one of the greatest things behind our contract with Marriott. We have the right within that contract to grow up. If we wanted to go from Westin to a Ritz-Carlton, it's within the contract.
What's next for you guys? Like, what's the next steps? And are we in the middle of financing right now?
We're in the middle of financing.
Wave a magic wand. What happens in the next 6 months?
Yeah. So once the financing's in place, contracts are ready to go with Marriott, and they break ground and they start building.
You've had to raise money for projects in the past. Are you concerned about the economic environment?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Once again, it's a tried and true product. You got a Westin residence, you got a Westin resort. Marriott's going to manage it. It's all ocean front. It's a tried.
I think we have to do a show there, don't you think?
I agree.
It's going to take us 2 weeks to research it, so we'll go there, and then we'll have to go back
a month.
Stephen, will you come back with us? I think we should get the word out to all of our audience.
Be honored.
125 million TV homes across the country, Armed Forces Network across the world, and of course Bloomberg El Financiero. Stephen Allgood, Mike Taylor.
It's all good.
Thank you.
You heard that before.
All right, more
first time, Mike.
Hey, Mike, volleyball and the bead thing is later on today. Let's go. White Sands, Mike's head on my shoulder.
And what's your advice? Potato goes in the front?
Yeah, potato goes in the front of the Speedo. Safety tip. Big Biz, we'll see you in a minute.
They actually